Hello and welcome back. This is part 18 of how to build a HexTile board game in Unreal Engine. I have moved the project from Unreal Engine 4 to 5. I'll put a link in the description of a video on how to do that. Super easy. I've been pushing this off for years, and it was actually way easier than I thought. So I'm in Unreal Engine 5 now. Really, I mean, a lot of the logic is very, very similar between 4 and 5. So if you're on 4 and you don't want to migrate, I don't think that should be a problem for you. But if you want to, it's super easy. And again, I'll link that video down below. So in the last video, we were working on, or continuing to really work on battle resolution, and specifically dealing with the attacker winning and the defender losing, both with and without casualties. And I thought we got that pretty much wrapped up, but then when I was testing around today, I noticed some issues, and I think I got them solved. So first, come into your game mode turn-based, and I wish I was recording when I did this so I could show this better, but I think I can recap it. So I'm in the die roll casualty, and you should have this logic, right? We get the roll, we switch on the type of die roll, which we're in the casualty. I'm hard setting the number of casualties to 0 right now just for testing. And then off of this player controller list for each loop, we're running some widgets. And then in this scenario we had been testing is when the attacker wins. So we're coming up this true, and then we're doing a loop on each of the units. And this is where I changed some things. You likely have these two events, casualty mode server and route mode server here. But we want to move these off of the complete because if you have multiple units, right, in our scenario we have 2 defending units, then these events are running twice because it's going off the loop, and that's not what we want. So bring these events down to here, your casualty mode server and route mode server. And we also need this branch, which is the same as this one. So you can just copy this branch, right, drop it down here, and then just grab both of the events you have here and plug those here. So then off the complete, we should be doing a check is the number of casualties greater than 0? If true, then we want to enter into casualty mode for the defending player controller. If not, then we just go right into route mode for the defending player controller. So hopefully that makes sense. And then after that, we continue with the logic that we had here earlier with defending player setting the number of casualties, defending player showing the casualty HUD, and then update the HUD for the winner, which is in this case the attacking player. One other thing we have to change, so let me just zoom out, make sure everybody feels like they can see this okay. The other bug I noticed when I was going through this is double click on the Show Casualty HUD client. This is annoying, and I think we can find a better way to do this in the future, but this fixed it. I added this delay of half a second. The reason why and what was happening is when we do the set number of casualties in the server, I think it's this one. No, sorry, let me get rid of this print string. No, route mode. Okay, so when we go into route mode, we are setting, we're selecting the units in our army. So, right, because as the defender, you haven't selected your units yet because it's not your turn. You're not, and it's the attacker attacking you. So you don't have any units selected. So what we're doing is we're passing the defending units army into the route mode server. And then we're setting, and we can probably get rid of this actually. And we're setting the selected unit array for the defending player, checking unit selected, adding where they're coming from, and then triggering on routing. Right, all that makes sense. But what's happening is when we run this event for the client, even though this is replicated and we're setting this on the server, the information isn't getting to the client quick enough. As quick as this chain of events is running. So what has been happening is we're checking to see, do we have more casualties than we have soldiers? And if that's true, right, then our army is just destroyed. Well, that's not true in this case because we're doing 0 casualties and we have 2 defenders. So this should be hitting this switch on int, running the 0, but it wasn't because it was always reading the number of casualties as 0, which we have set, and the length of the army, or the amount of soldiers in the army as 0. So then this logic was coming down here. So the fix is to just do this ever so short delay, and that allows the client to catch up to the server effectively. Annoying, and I think we can do some things differently later to correct this because I just hate using delays for things like this. But it is working, so we're going to roll with that. So add in this delay, and that should fix your problems. So, and just to demonstrate it, we'll run a quick example. Oh, actually, I'm going to mention one thing too. If you did switch from Unreal Engine 4 to 5, and it's your first time in Unreal Engine 5, first thing in Windows, go to Content Browser, you can click this one, and then you can drag it down here. That's how you get this. It's not there by default. And 2, when you play in Editor, click these epaulets, I think they're called. And this was giving me fits. It was really annoying, but it was super simple. Make sure you have new editor window selected, or number of players 2, and then hover over net mode and switch to listen server. By default, it's on a standalone, so then what's happening is the client was never working, and I couldn't figure out why everything broke, but it's because I wasn't on the listen server. So once you have that, then you can pop this up, and I do have, whoops. I've got the other one going here too. But so now when we attack, again, I have a program where the defender is going to win, and there's no, or the attacker is going to win, and there's no casualties. So you can see 0 casualties, choose tell to route to, I'll then go here. Now here comes the attacker. So all of that is good. So now what we want to do is switch over to working on when the attacker loses. So that will be this branch, attacker wins, false. First thing we need to do is go to our die roll number, and instead of the attacker rolling a 6, have them roll a 0, let's have the defender roll a 6. So defender will always win, come back into our casualties, and then come down to the false. So let's just kind of look down this quick. When this is false, the attacking units, if the number of casualties is greater than 0, go into casualty mode. If not, okay, and this is a new event I added. So, and let me just unplug this because I think I can walk you through this. I was just kind of playing around on how I want to do this. This is probably what you have right now. Toggle casualty mode and toggle route mode. The reason I'm switching this into a new event, this unit return, is we don't, as the attacker, when we lose, you don't have an option of where you're routing to. You're going back to where you came from. So we want to just handle some things a little bit different, right? Like we don't necessarily need to do this stuff. So instead I made this event unit return, and maybe we'll call this like, I think army return might be a little bit better, and make this run on server, make this reliable, and this is in our BP pawn, and we got to build out the logic for this yet. So you can replace this event, toggle route mode, with, if you pull off your element or array element, type in army return, and uncheck this context sensitive, and there it is. Here's the event, right? So you can just grab this and plug this in to the false. So basically, this is what's going to run the logic of any logic we have to do on the BP pawn, the individual users or soldiers, any logic that they have to do for returning. And then on the completion, set the number of casualties, which runs this series of events, which in this case will be false, because we should be returning 0 casualties, and we should have a length of however many units we're attacking with. So this number should be greater than this number, i.e. then this is false in this example, so I don't really have to worry about that. And then so show casualty HUD, and this is the one we fixed on the other side, where this should show things correctly. So And this actually might need to be a little bit different. So let's go in, let's trial this. Again, this is when the attacker is losing, but no casualties. So let's just see how this works and see what we have to fix. I think I have some ideas on what some of the problems might be, but we'll see. So we lose, defender wins. Okay, so things went okay, actually. Our turn cycled and these units returned to their spot. I can't click them. I think that might be because I'm stuck in a decision, possibly. Defender seems to be working. We have these, which really shouldn't be on here. So we got to figure out how to get rid of these. But other than that, actually, the logic seemed to handle itself fairly well. Okay, so the first fix is let's get rid of the adjacent indicators that are showing up. So within our, I think it was from our game mode. I'm trying to remember here. Yeah, okay. So in our game mode, one of the last events we're running is a show casualty HUD client. And when we come into, yeah, okay. So we do the delay. We determine that our army is not getting wiped. In this case, right, we're going to be running off the switch on int 0 because we have 0 casualties. And we are the attacker, so this is going to return false. This is saying, are you not the attacker? True. So defender goes this way, attacker goes this way. And we have this attack failed server. All we have to do here on this event is I added this. So when the attack fails, our selected units, each of them, they get unselected. And then we cycle the turn after that. And then what I want to do is run this toggle adjacent tiles, which this isn't here. So all you have to do, and I'll just delete it, walk you through it. We want to grab our selected tile from, and then type in toggle adjacent. Again, if you're not seeing this, play around with this context sensitive. It's kind of been giving me some issues in Unreal Engine 5 for some reason. And then connect this and have this toggled to not true. And yours might say on off. I switch this just to on question mark because that's more accurate. If we come into this logic, really what this is doing, right, is this is going to be false. So we're passing through. And then for each of the adjacent tiles, we'll turn off that decal. So what that does now is we'll get rid of those little indicators, which makes this a little bit better. To roll the dice, again, the attacker is going to lose, and we will have 0 casualties. Boom. You can see all that disappeared. And we did cycle the turns. Now there's a problem, though, where right we can't click on anybody. And what's happening here is let me go to our BP pawn, I'll show you. When we click on a unit, it's doing this check of, are you in a decision? If you're not in a decision, if that's true, right, we can carry on. The attacker, though, is getting flagged as in a decision somewhere, and so this is always returning false. So they can never click on units again until they get out of a decision. Now, I think where this logic is coming from, I don't know, I gotta look. I'll look. It's somewhere in here, and it's because I think I put that in for like resolving casualties, but obviously in this case we don't have it. So let me look for that, and then I'll circle back. Okay, here it is. So it's actually anytime we attack a tile, we're setting this indecision, or is in a decision as true. So we just have to think about, when do we want this to be set off? And I think this attack failed server actually makes a lot of sense. We could do cycle turns too, which could get everybody out, but let's do it here for now. So I'm in our attack failed server, right? We just added this event. Let's take this indecision and set this to false. I think that makes sense. This is after all the logic is done. It's kind of the last piece of the logic for the attacker losing. So I think this is a good place to set this. So now let's come back and test this. And really, like this, really what's kind of happening is we haven't set any of the logic yet for, anybody can really move even when it's not their turn right now. That's just to help with testing. So I should be able to just kind of move units at will, which obviously wasn't allowing me, but now you can see we can select them, even though it's not our turn, and we haven't built that in yet. So good, that makes sense, and the board is back to how it should be, and let's just test this on the client side quick. Let's have both attack. Interesting, their camera didn't move like it used to. You lost, result in casualties. And there were none. And both units can select, move. Oop, okay. And there's a little bit of a bug on the client. One of their units just completely disappeared. Where did he go? Is that an issue here? Server can move fine. Client had 2 units, and one of them just disappeared. Oh, okay. They're dropping in the same spot. How weird. Try something quick. Play around with that. But let's finish the effort we were on. Oh, and we have an error. Let's see what this is. Axis trying to read get item 1. Okay, so this is running when we cycle the turns. Axis trying to read call stack get item 1. That's in, so what it's saying is get item 1. There's 2 player controllers. The server, well, actually, yeah, 2. There'll be 2 in here. The server and the client player controller. So it'd be 0 and 1. And it's erroring getting them, but it was also cycling the turns. So we'll come back to this. But now let's test. So in our game mode, let's go to die roll casualty. And now what I want to do here is let's switch this to 1. Okay, so now we'll have 1 casualty, and we want to make sure this is being resolved correctly. So here's the attacker. Let's attack with 2. It's probably the most complex option. Right? We should have 1 casualty. We should be prompted to select which one we want to destroy, and then the other should automatically route back. Lost. 1. Choose 1 casualty. Okay, both these units are selected. That's good. Right, we have the footman and the swordsman, so obviously I'd want to destroy the footman. He's dead. And this unit is just floating. Okay, so I think I know what's going on here. He's being selected twice. So let's look through our logic and try to figure out where that's happening. So the attacker does not win. That's false. We're doing this for each loop, for each unit. If the number of casualties is greater than 0, this is true. We're going to toggle casualty mode. This is in our BP pawn units. So we toggle this to true, potential casualty is true, we highlight and select the unit, which is selection of the unit is what's, putting it up, tilting it. That'll make sense. off of the complete, set number of casualties server. This is doing these checks. The number of casualties is greater than, that's not true, so this is not happening. Show casualties. Okay, I have a guess of what's going on. So this toggle casualty mode, I'm just going to do a print string here to test this. Um, Toggle cas mode. Because I think what's happening, let me just do, I got a couple other print strings. I'm just going to figure these out quick. Tile, must be my player controller. Yeah, this. Okay, so I think what's happening here is this is running twice, which means that this is running twice and the unit is getting put up in the air twice. So I'm attacking with 2 units. So if I'm right, we'll see this print string 4 times, right? Meaning it's running twice for 2 units. It didn't. You saw that twice. I mean, they're unbelievably high up, right? Like when we select a unit over here, they're much lower. So um, something weird is going on. Oh, I thought that was for sure it. So I'm going to get rid of this print string, and what we'll do is this unit selected, multicast, let's do a print string here. So it might not be coming from the game mode, it might be coming from somewhere else. And I screwed up my test because I only attacked with 1, which that was really nice because I think that actually worked. The unit just died. Um, but let's attack with 2 and try this again. Okay. Yep. So we saw 4 hellos, which means this is running a lot. Is it because it's a multicast? No, because let me just select the unit. This runs twice. Because there's a server version and the client's version. Sometimes Unreal Engine is so frustrating. I don't know why this is happening. And it only happens. And he dies. Okay. I know exactly what the problem is. It's because the unit's already selected. So the logic is working perfectly. But we just selected the unit, right? We just selected him. He's up in the air, both of them. When we run this event, we select them again, but they're already selected. So we don't need to do this again. So, okay. So we toggle casualty mode. Potential casualty, we highlight them. This unit selected multicast, we're going to do instead is hold B, left click, add in a branch. And let's give ourselves a little bit of space. And this will make sense once I do this. Grab your selected, get this, type in not. There's 2 knots, right? This is the one that always wants in Unreal Engine 5, not equal. This isn't the one we want. We want this one, not Boolean. Plug this in. So if the unit is not selected, if that's true, then select the unit. If they're already selected, which as the attacker, you're selecting units before you attack, this isn't going to run. This should solve the issue. So let's come back. Let's grab both of our units. Attack, attack, begin. Okay. Now we can select the unit to kill. Let's kill the footman. Boom. That's great. And this unit returns back to where we wanted to go. Awesome. Well, that completes our some bugs still, obviously, but the core of all this works. And actually, I thought we were going to wrap up, but let me just test one more thing. When, and actually, let's go back into the game mode. Our casualty, let's just make this 2. Let's just make sure an army wipe works. But I think this should, because we've already seen it. So still some things like I want to clean up, obviously fix some of the bugs, but I think we have these mechanics working. The next step is kind of the quality control side of things. Like this is popping up for some reason. So both the units die, which is great, but this battle preview HUD widget shows up. I'm not sure why. All right, I'm going to fix that bug, and then I think we'll wrap up this video. Okay, I think I figured out the issue. So in our die roll casualties, this bug with the widget, it's only showing up when the attacking army is destroyed. And that's because on the set number of casualty servers, when the army is destroyed, we do this routing complete event in our game mode. And in this event, we are doing this move units to tile. I'm going to delete this because this was in here. And it's trying to move units to the defending tile. And what this really is for is when the attacker wins, the defender routes. Right, defender routes, a pick place a route, and then the attacking army moves into this defending tile. But what's happening is this is running again when the attacker loses. And so now the attacker is trying to move back into this defending tile, which is re-prompting the battle, which is obviously not what we want. So I think what we'll do is we'll do get attacker wins. We'll do a branch. And I'm going to slide this over. If the attacker wins, if that's true, then we do this, right? The attacker moves into the defending tile. If they don't win, let's plug this in. We will instead route back to the attacking tile. I think this should resolve the issue. So we want the defender to win, and I want to do an army wipe. So even though there's really no routing happening, I think this will give us the result we want. So grab both of these units, come in and attack. Both of them are dead. You lose, your army is destroyed. Defender continues. Okay. We have a bit of a problem where we should be, okay, and a bunch of issues. So let me work through these quick and I'll be back. Okay, I fixed the error, so come back into the game mode, routing complete. We actually don't need this move units to tile, so get rid of that, just have cycle turns. Another thing in our die roll casualty, this army return actually isn't doing anything. We don't need it to do anything, so we're going to delete it in our pawn, and then delete it from here. We don't need that. Another thing I want to do is in our player controller, when we attack, I want to get rid of the adjacent indicators, and because it's something that kind of persists after we lose the battle, and once we decide to attack, we actually don't need it anymore. So move units to tile, attack. So when we attack, I'm going to slide all of this over and just grab this. And we can turn this off. Okay. And now the last thing I want to do, one second, I forget what this player index does. This is not hooked up. Never have it hooked up. I don't know. I'll have to check on that. The last thing I want to do is in our HUD, we have an issue where when army gets destroyed, this is setting, this text right up here. And just due to the timing of how some of the events are running, that is running prior to or after this cycle, saying it's your turn or you're waiting for your turn. So what I want to do actually instead of this is it might be cooler, more cool to have like kind of a little, something kind of coming up here and it doesn't actually change here. And we might move more of our text to be like that. So I'm just gonna do that quick. We'll do some animations, and then we'll wrap it up. So what I want to do is let's grab a border, put that under our. Let's close a bunch of this stuff, and we'll just call this pop-up border. And I'm going to have this anchored. Anchor this at the very top. We'll have no offset. I'll give it a size of 50. And then left and right, I don't know. Let's try like 250, 250. Like 300, 300. And it's position Y minus 1800. Is that too big? Whoops. 1800. Let's try 1200. Yeah. Okay. So basically what's going to happen is that text I was talking about where it says your whole unit army was destroyed. It's just going to come up from the bottom of the screen, scroll up to the top, and then go away. I'm going to click on one of these other borders and grab this brush color, copy this, go back to our pop-up and paste that here. Keep that all the same. And then let's do a text. Plop that onto here. And we'll center this. And what I'll do is we'll come back into our graph. And what I want to do instead here, let's make a new variable. This be called pop up text and text. Whoops. Pile. Set that here. We can copy this, paste that, delete this, grab this, save, compile, save, and then come back into here and let's create that binding pop-up text. And then what I want to do is with this border selected, let's create an animation. Actually, this is something I always do. I create a default, right? This does nothing. And I'm going to create, it's just so like every time you come in here, you don't have any animations on. This will make sense when you start playing with different animations. I always like to do this, so I always just have like this default screen that doesn't have anything crazy going on. Then I'm going to create a new one. It's going to be pop-up text. And maybe actually I'm going to call these anim and anim. Okay. And so within this anim, I think by default, let's see. So let's bring in our pop-up border. I'm trying to think if we want this to kind of like fade in with opacity or just slide. Let's try just the sliding first and we can play around with opacity later. We want, I think it's vertical alignment. No. delete that. It's like offset, transform, translation. Let me just see what this does. It could be like 1,000. Yeah, okay, so this works. So this is 0, and then I'm going to press this to key it. And then, I don't know, let's try like maybe 2 seconds. Get minus 1,000, minus 1,200. Let's do minus 1,300, something like that, and then key it. So then what this will do is over 2 seconds, right, it'll just kind of float like that. From off screen up to off screen. So let's go back to our graph and let's find that animation. This pop-up text, grab this, get, and then just type in play animation. And I'm just going to slide some of this all down. Forward. Okay. Now let's test this out. I just want to make sure I have all my settings right. So I want the defender winning and the attacker taking some casualties. Okay. Just attacking with 1. You lose, resolving casualties. Okay, way too fast, but it did work. Unit is destroyed. So let's come back into our HUD. And let's drag this out to like, I don't know, 5 seconds maybe. That. Let's see how this looks. Okay, let's try it again. Another thing I realized too is we don't have those, right, as soon, I'm trying to think actually, maybe we don't want that here. No, whatever. Well, I'll do that in the next video when we do some bug fixes, but at least that is gone. Continue. So here's the casualty roll. Boom, dead. You lost, your army is destroyed. Cool. I think that works fine. Right, could look prettier, yeah, but for our purposes, I think this works. So cool. That is the end of the video. What I'm going to do here next, in the next video, is walk through all those scenarios again, really meticulous. Just make sure we don't have any weird bugs. You know, things like the text is weird, color highlights are weird, adjacent indicators are on when we don't want them on, and clean up all the bugs. Make sure we can't break it, right? So you can't move units when you shouldn't be able to, that kind of stuff. So that'll be the next video, bug fixing. And then after that, we can get into capturing, and then we'll get into more of the economy part of this, right? Getting gold from mines, supply or food from the farms, building units, and then we'll be in the home stretch. But yeah, thanks for watching. Kind of a I don't know, a little bit of a cluster of a video, I guess. So if you have issues, let me know. Again, we got the Discord running, really good place. If you're having issues, right, you can go in there and just drop a snip of your graph, and then I can take a look at it to help you problem solve and troubleshoot. So if you're having issues, join the Discord, and please like and subscribe. Thanks.